unto. This ain't no ordinary stream. From the ashes, Phoenix talks manifest in a dream. Got a growing channel, YouTube's where the wisdom resides. For all the Nest members, no truth can ever hide. She's an under detective on the digital beat, questioning the unthinkable, bringing fire to the heat. With a mind so advanced, highly intelligent and bold, part of the hive mind with birdie stories to unfold. Common sense is a superpower, cutting through the noise, unlocking closed minds, amplifying all our voices.
Phoenix, Phoenix, what do you see? Unlocking knowledge for you and me. The nest is rising strong and true, sharing wisdom, me and you. Clap, clap, clap for the truth we seek. Every answer, week by week. Phoenix, Phoenix, what do you see? Unlocking knowledge for you and me. The nest is rising strong and true, sharing wisdom, me and you. Clap, clap, clap for the truth we seek. Every answer, week by week.
All right, y'all. Wednesday afternoon after this morning's sentencing on 7/23/2025. And I will tell you, boy, they got these documents up there pretty quick. I'm about to share with you these documents. And we are going to go through this bullshit and see how much they have hidden from the public. They've already authorized these to be redacted. And I'm going to get into it. We are going to do a deep dive because it's going to take every freaking single one of us to combat this bullshit that we've just seen in Idaho. And I'm speaking from the heart. If you don't want to hear this today, you probably got in the wrong stream. But let me tell you one thing that I do know. I know Phoenix talks a lot. And you're damn right I'm going to talk a lot about this case for a long time because this bullshit needs to be uncovered and it is just beginning. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. So tell me where you all are tuning in from, where you're watching from. And, you know, I am still in shock and awe over this morning's sentencing. What a freaking shit show that was. I'm a little feisty today, so I have to warn you. Excuse my ex-Navy sailor mouth that I have spent over 30 years on holding back. But if you ever, it's something that I hold true is integrity and truth. And I don't care if anybody comes at me and shits about I don't give two shits about my eyebrows. How come I haven't fixed them? You know, you're overweight. Why don't you go find a husband? If you don't know anything about me by now, then I feel bad for you guys because you haven't been paying that much of attention. But this isn't really about me. It's the focus that we've brought to this case that many don't like. And if you value your freedoms in America and you value your life and your quality of life in America, you don't want to be the next Brian Koberger. I'm telling you, when the evil that works against the American people are sinister and corrupt, that have taken oaths to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. Guys, lawyers have to take this oath, military takes this oath, law enforcement takes this oath. There are some other people who take this oath, but this is a serious oath for life. It's not just for the job. It's not just to serve 5 years or whatever. It is an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, what our country, what our freedoms are based off of. And if you don't know, you need to know, because every day the powers that be are questioning our freedoms. They would love to take that away from every single one of us. But there are just a few that'll stand up to this bullshit. There's only a few that are going to see the truth. There's only a few that will say, I've had enough. And that's okay. Because some of us have your backs. And you've got ours. And that is what this community that we have built is. Whether you're with me and Birdie, whether you're with me, Birdie, and Sammy, whether you're watching Birdie alone or myself alone, we three are more powerful than this crappy evil that's trying to come against our freedoms. Now, I don't know where you guys were during COVID, but if you didn't see what happened in Boston about their freedoms, you might want to go do some research and look and see what happened in Boston. When the people, we the people, stood up against that crap, we won. When we the people stand up and are strong together, we can overcome this freaking evil that they're throwing at us. These are your freedoms, your freedom of speech. Don't be shy if you've always been shy about this. Don't give up your freedoms, guys. Know what your freedoms are. Know what the truth is. We're just bringing it to you. It's up to you to see it. So we are going to uncover this bullshit right now. I'm going to download these reports. You know what? I think I'm sharing my screen. Let me throw you guys this up on my screen so you can see exactly transparent what I'm doing. Let me take off a few of these banners so they're not in the way, because we already know we're going to uncover the bullshit. And don't be shocked at what you see. I'm not trying to freak you guys out or anything like that. If it gets too much for you, drop off and watch the replay when you're alone. If you've got comments, make them. You know, you guys have been super generous in the gifting. I'm not asking for any gifting. It's nice to be able to continue to stream and bring the truth to you. It's not required. I don't charge for any of my streams. But we are living in a time where we have got to stand up. Stop counting on veterans to stand up. Stop counting on moms to stand up. Stop. Young kids need to see what's happening, because if this happens in our country, this was probably just a test study to see how far they could push us. I think all those three stooges that were giving that press conference needs to take a break, go retire, go play the banjo. So I'm downloading this first document. You can go to the Moscow Police Department. You can download all these documents yourself. I'm going to break down a few. I know I have been on all day. I'm exhausted after that shit show this morning. But I do want you to know, for one thing for sure, is that I will share what I find. I'm going to download a few more. And we're going to see exactly what they have in store for us to pick through. And I sure hope these aren't too highly redacted. That'll probably just make me more upset. But it is what it is. Let me unload this one too. Hold on. I'm going to download these. I'm going to download them. They're in zip drives. They're pretty large. Here's a general narrative summary I'll bring up. Here's some supplemental reports. We'll do the best we can today to show you guys everything that they have shared. These are pretty large files. And I'll throw it up on the screen. So drop your comments if you have any questions. There is a lot of miscellaneous stuff in here. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Hold on one second. All of these are in PDFs. There's 1 through 50 in the first. Let me open some of these up. There is no specific order. It looks like they've been working on this for the last few weeks to get all these documents in this zip file. And we're looking at the first time for both of us. I'm going to throw the first document up there. It says the General Narrative Spillman. Now, most of these look like calls, so let me grab this. I'm going to throw this up here on the screen for you guys to see it. We'll go through some of these. We're not going to be able to go through all these 300 and something. There's tons of files, tons of pages. So let me throw this up there and let me move myself off stage. So this first document looks like a general narrative law incident. This is a report where police go on the scene, and they have blacked, obviously, a lot of this stuff out, redacted. These were some subpoenas that they issued, it looks like, to these individuals. And this is the Moscow Police Department. They subpoenaed Shane Gunderson, somebody by the name of C, first name M, last name Jacob Tesdall, Aaron Morris, Andrew Fox, Anthony Dahlhanger. These have got to be all the police people. Brett Payne, Corbin Smith, Danny Vargas, Dustin Bleeker, Eric Warner, Jordan Welch. It looks like a lot of the people on the police department: Nate Rosendahl, TS, I already know who that is, Ryan Schneider, Corporal Payne, Maury, Detective Maury, Captain Bleeker, or Blaker, Lawrence again, Shane Gunderson, a repeat of names. So these are all the different times, probably nearing the court dates, that they subpoenaed everyone. There was a report of threatening, of burglary. Now, there was a rumor, guys. There was an alleged rumor that there was a fight that night, and it got scrubbed from the blotter, the police blotter. And if you don't know what a police blotter is, you can go to Moscow Big Country News, and they share the blotters. Okay? So the blotter is basically the police log. There was a report incident of threatening fights. And then you see on 1/3/23, Koberger offended. And then all these people that were involved and witnesses mentioned, involved, victims, and the 4 victims are there, and then mentioned. Now, they have not redacted their first initial of their name and their last initial. So there's a first initial of S and D involved. So an S and a D. Now keep in mind, the last name is first and the first name is last. That's how the military does it. That's how the police do it. So the first initial of the first people that were involved was D and S. And you can go through again, and then it has a bunch of D and L, A and A, J and K. You can obviously imagine who these people involved were. So when I say this with my whole chest and my whole heart, that there were other people involved in this, whatever happened. There were a lot of people involved. There were people that were mentioned: JM, the complainant, BF was Bethany, charged with burglary, murder, yada, yada, yada. And then the vehicles: a Range Rover, Elantra, a Honda Civic. Obviously, that was parked there. The Jeep Wrangler and a Ford Explorer. That was a black Ford Explorer that we know that it was Stacy Chapin that said that both of their sons' vehicles were parked there. They've got the initiating call where they were unconscious, and it looks like they've got all this evidence. 625. Don't know what all this was. There's a grand jury exhibit, water ball, supplements. It looks like this is to present this evidence, perhaps in trial. That's what it looks like to me, because it's got BK's phone, hard drive, laptop, FBI TUI request, emails, and stuff of that nature. So you can go down and look, trace. It looks like the Moscow Bago. These look like receipts, video shop, real life video, Palouse property video, Cactus Computer, King Road video. And this looks like just the overview of what all these documents are in this zip drive. So this is a narrative summary that I'm just going through. Okay. And let's get to the meat and potatoes. So if we want to reference anything, it'll be on the top of the document. I'm not really watching the comments. If you guys know, I'm going to run through these documents. I will not. There's no video that I've seen yet. So if there is, they are in the files that are downloading. So here was the general narrative outline of the homicide. Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, Xana, and Maddie Mogan were found deceased. We know that. Watch guard event, yes. And officers responding, evidence, narrative, approximately 11:56. This was the morning of. Officers responded to a unconscious call. The RP was the reporter, later identified as, we know, Bethany Funk. We can fill that in. Reported her roommate passed out, not conscious, not breathing. As I was preparing to leave the station, Officer Nunez was already on the scene. So there was an officer on the scene, guys. Advised of a likely homicide and asked for additional units while I was en route. How was Nunez on the scene already if the 911 call was just placed? How in the world? Okay, so while I was en route, Officer Nunez advised he had located 2 additional victims. The victims were later identified as Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, and Maddie. The EMS was asked to stage and not respond to the scene unless requested. Well, we know that because they never went in, because the police had told him there's no resuscitating anyone here. They're gone. Upon arrival, I saw HJ Hunter crouching near the entrance. He was obviously emotionally distressed. I entered through the first floor door, which faces north to the parking lot. I announced myself as a Moscow police officer and heard Officer Nunez and Warner respond from upstairs. When I got to the second floor, I saw a female covered in blood in the bedroom on the northwest side of the second floor. I believe this female to be Xana. I looked inside the bedroom. Xana was laying, and it was obvious an intense struggle had occurred. Xana was obviously deceased. There was blood smearing on various items in the room all over the floor. There was blood cast off on the walls in various places, including above Xana's body. Xana was on her back on the floor in the center of the room and her head towards the west. No freaking joke. Dylan's statement is a freaking liar, in my humble opinion. Wow. Wow, guys. Wow. Blood cast means that it was sprayed into the wall, cast off. An intense struggle, but no 911 call. So you tell me that you guys did not hear all this shit go down. I thought I was pissed from this morning. Now I'm going to get more pissed. Sorry, guys. Both her, let me see what, Xana was on her back on the floor in the center of the room. She wasn't outside her door. She wasn't even blocking the door. Okay, don't get me started. Center of the room, her head was towards the west. Xana was in her underwear and long sleeve gray shirt. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't answer DoorDash in my underwear. Both her shirt and underwear were covered in blood. Xana's face was covered in dried blood, mind you. I could see what appeared to be defensive knife wounds on her hands. There was a deep gash on the left hand between her pointy finger and, hold on, I gotta scroll down. Let me make this a little smaller. Between her finger and pointy thumb, a partially covered male was on the bed and obviously deceased. I believe this male to be Ethan. The midsection of Ethan's body was covered with a blanket. Ethan's head wasn't visible and appeared to be between the bed and the south wall. There was some blood cast off on what appeared to be an arterial spray above where Ethan's head was located. I proceeded upstairs to the third floor where Officer Nunez and Warner advised the residents to clear of any additional people. There was a dog belonging to Kaylee on the third floor west bedroom, which had access to the third floor deck. The deck has no exterior access to the ground level. I asked Corporal Snyder to cordon off the area. Officer Nunez to start identifying the subjects that were on scene when he arrived. I asked Officer Warner to start a crime scene log at the front entrance, which is very common. And Officer Smith arrived on the scene. I asked him to stand guard at the kitchen sliding door, which I later learned was ajar upon our arrival. So the door was open. The back sliding door was open. On the third floor, I went to the southeast bedroom where Officer Nunez and Warner advised they found two females, which I believe to be Kaylee and Madison. Both females were obviously deceased. I observed Kaylee lying on the north side of the bed and Madison laying on the south side of the bed with their heads toward the east. Okay, so that's a different setup. Kaylee and Maddie were covered by a pink blanket, which was covered in blood. There was a large pool of blood near Kaylee's midsection. There was blood cast off on the east and north walls above Kaylee and Madison. Madison appeared to be laying up against Kaylee. Madison had what appeared to be wounds on her forearm and hands. Madison had a gash under her right eye, which appeared to go from the corner to the left eye of her nose. Kaylee was unrecognizable as her facial structure was extremely damaged. I asked Officer Nunez to close the door to the bedroom so the dog did not try to disturb the scene. Other than that, MPD patrol officers left the scene as it was found. It was later confirmed with Officer Nunez that no EMS personnel entered prior to my arrival. On the third floor, I went to the southeast bedroom where Officer Nunez and Warner advised. I'm sorry, I just read that. Sorry. I contacted Captain Barrett and advised him of the situation. Captain Barrett said he would activate detectives to get more resources en route. Once Detective Sergeant Lawrence arrived on the scene, he requested one of the responding patrol officers began writing a search warrant was assigned to Officer Nunez. Corporal Snyder was assigned to take the initial photos of the scene, while Officer Smith and Warner remained as security as both entrances. I collected the dog from the third floor and took him outside. LCSO, which is probably Lieutenant Commander, Deputy Olson transported the dog to the Humane Society on my behalf. Officer Nunez was interviewed. Let me make this a little smaller. Was interviewing a large group of individuals which were associated with the residents. Officer Nunez asked if I could finish getting contact information and for the following individuals. I contacted and later had following names in this: BF, a resident; DM, a resident; HJ, and then there's that CM again. CM, don't know who that is. Anybody know who CM was in this debacle? CM, don't know who CM is. Let me see. Amelia, we know that's Emily Arnott. I don't know who the other two people are. So there were some other people around. Oh, that's Josie. Josie and, oh my gosh, where's my glasses? Who is LB? LB. Hunter Johnson, we know. And JM, don't know. All these individuals' names were collected. They responded to the MPD. I'd have to go back and look at all the names I have. I assisted with the canvass of the area, was assigned southernmost apartments on Queen Road. Now, they have a number there. I think it's 500 Queen Road. I contacted the residents following apartments whom claimed they didn't hear anything. And then there's something big redacted and blank. I attempted to contact the following apartments with no response. There is no apartment blank or blank. I could probably piece that one together, but I will refrain. And basically, yes, it was assigned to detectives, and that was the narrative of the crime scene for you. And that's all that they put in there. So let me grab the next document, and let's see what these supplemental reports say. So when we're looking at these, we are looking at basically what these supplemental reports say. And these are quite long, guys. So, I'm going to go through as much as I can, but there's the narrative. And just taking a look at these, there's a lot of questions, obviously. But there are even some documents. Hold on a minute. Let me grab this. I want to get this zip file down here because I want you to be able to see this yourself. That was the narrative. Let me close this tab. And let me grab this one. Supplements 101. I've already got that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the zip drive. I'm going to grab the next report. And that is a supplement. Now, they don't go in any order, guys. So we're just pulling supplemental documents. Now, supplemental documents are supplemental reports that actually follow up with the initial narrative. And when I say narrative, that is the narrative report that we just read. So I'm not going to pick and choose. I'm just going to go in order where they were downloaded from. And as they pull up, I will share them to the screen. And like I said, these things are pretty long. And there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have 50 each. So there's quite a few documents in this. Supplemental 1 is in response to scene security, and this was 11/13 at 4:04. This was written by Corbin Smith. So there's one of the CS that was blacked out. On or about 11/13, I arrived at 12 o'clock and I responded to 1122 King Road in reference to possible homicides. Officer Nunez had arrived on scene and found a total of 4 deceased individuals. They informed other units that he believed this to be a homicide. When I arrived, I entered the residence and went to the second floor. I observed a female wearing a sweatshirt and underwear laying in the middle of the bedroom floor covered in blood. So again, this is the second officer on scene, on site, that now says the same exact thing as the first officer, that she was laying in her underwear with a sweatshirt in the middle of the bedroom floor, not in the doorway, not anything seen from what we've heard before. Covered in blood. I observed deep lacerations indicative of defense wounds on the female's hands. The female was surrounded by blood on the floor. I observed a male laying on the bed. The male appeared to have been suffered from stab wounds and lacerations to the neck. The male was covered in blood and bedding around was soaked in blood. Now, it doesn't say anything about his legs, guys. And this is why it's so important that we are able to read these documents. In a third bedroom, I observed two females laying on the bed which appeared to have been stabbed to death. The female laying on the left half of the bed, as I looked from the doorway, was unrecognizable. Her face was completely disfigured and stabbed several times. Guys, this is the second report on how bad Kaylee's injuries were. Her face was completely disfigured. I was unable to comprehend exactly what I was looking at while trying to discern the nature of the injuries. The second female on the right half of the bed had multiple stab wounds. The comforter was soaked in blood and a pool of blood was still present. I was assigned to hold security at the rear slider door. I remember seeing this guy in pictures. This was the alleged entry point of the suspect. I observed very large footprints in the snow. I used a tape measure, and the shoe measured approximately 13 to 14 inches. The footsteps went to and from the rear slider door. I observed the trail of footsteps head away from the slider door, then turn right around the stump in the backyard, leading to the front of the house. I observed a small handprint on the window of the east of the slider, which is the sliding door. Small handprints. The screen to this window appeared damaged and was laying on the ground. I located smudged fingerprints on the glass slider door. There was a discarded black backpack in the backyard. I photographed these items and attached them to the case. I maintained rear security until I was relieved by Officer Warner. The only person to enter from this point was Captain Lanier at about 5:27 civilian time. I certify and declare under perjury, pursuant to the law of the state of Idaho, that the foregoing is true and correct. So, wow. Supplement 2 redacted is loading. Oh my God, guys, I'm sorry. I didn't load the other one. I will make sure I do that. Hold on. It just pulled up and I didn't think about going back. Hold on. Let me go back and show you these so you know that I'm legit. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so that was the second one. I got my tape line out and measured a 12. Small hands, but a 14 size foot. 13 to 14. What the heck? Medical autopsy is in sequence 32. I forgot who asked. Okay, so we're going to the next one. And let me stop sharing this document. I'm going to pull the next one up so you guys can see that one. Wow. Now you know why it's so important to have facts. Guys, these, wow. I'm just still in shock. just reading just 2 things that were wrong. This one is 3, and this is the redacted. And I've got 2 up here too, so I'm gonna hold on a minute. It won't let me share. Why not? Shoot, hold on. Let's see how I can get this done. Where'd y'all go? And here we go. It is not letting me share this because it is opening in another. Let me see if it'll let me share this screen. It was in a zip file. Crap. Hold on one second. I might just have to read these because it was in a zip file and it won't let me share the screen when I open the zip file myself. Crap. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see how I can get this to open. I could take a screenshot and I'll load it. Gosh, I'm going to have to go and take notes now on this. Shit, like I haven't spent like 6 months researching this deep. Let me see what this one says. This one is narrative 2, redacted, supplement 2 redacted. Okay. This one comes from Eric Warner. At 11:58, I responded. Let me take a screenshot and let me add it to my. Let me do this. Let me see if it'll let me print the screen. Nope, won't let me print the screen. So this is in a zip file that they have that you can go and download at the Moscow Police Department. But also keep in mind that it won't let me share this because you have to open it within that zip file. So I am just reading these documents for you so that you know where it's coming from. The narrative, so he arrives on scene at 11:58. I responded to a report of an unconscious person and they were not waking up. Dispatch advised a female was passed out from intoxication and not waking up. Why did they even lie? Why did they have to lie? That's just a disgrace for these victims. Dispatch advised there was a male seen in the room with the female last night. Dispatch advised there was a male seen in the room with the female last night. A shorter time later, dispatch advised the female was not conscious and not breathing. As I arrived, Officer Nunes advised over the air it appeared to be a homicide. I saw a small group of females outside the home in the parking lot. One female advised their roommate was on the 2nd floor and needed help. I went to Officer Nunes' location on the west side of the bedroom and the 2nd floor and passed a male in the living room identified as Hunter Johnson. Officer Nunes advised the female and male in the bedroom had blood on them and appeared to be beyond help. I walked out of the bedroom toward Jay and saw a clean steak knife on a beer pong table. I pointed out the knife to Nunes. Jay said he got the steak knife from the kitchen because when he arrived, he saw the female on the bedroom floor covered in blood and didn't know if there was anyone else present in the room. Jay said he checked the room with the knife for protection. I walked to the 1st floor entrance. I asked the females and H if there was anyone else in the apartment, and they said, not that I know of. I told Officer Nunes that the home was not secure and we started the process of clearing it. On the 3rd floor south bedroom, I saw two clothed females laying on a bed with their backs who appeared deceased. One female on the left side of the bed, in relation to the bedroom, had an extreme amount of lacerations to her face and upper body, which made her unrecognizable. The other female had multiple lacerations on her upper body and some blood on her face. I walked to the far side of the bed and determined that the female on the right was beyond help. I saw the female's leg was off the edge of the bed and it had lividity. Once I noticed the lividity in the female's leg, I backed out of the room. Now, if you guys don't know what lividity is, let me tell you, okay? Does anyone here know, first of all? Does anyone know what lividity is? And why is this important? So let me explain this to you the easiest way that I know how to explain lividity. It's basically when gravity pulls the blood into the capillaries and the soft tissues of the body after the heart stops pumping, the circulation ceases. And the skin appears purple, sometimes reddish pink, a dark purple color. And the reason that is so important is timing. Timing is everything in lividity. That means that is the last stage that the blood is settling to the lower parts of the body due to gravity. That is the last stage of death. You have pallor-mortis, alga mortis, rigor mortis, and then livor mortis. That just pisses me off. So they can tell about what time this event actually took place, guys. So let me move on. Once I noticed the lividity, I backed out of the room. Officer Nunes and I checked the rest of the third floor and saw it was clear. There was a poodle in the west bedroom on the bed, which was taken to the Humane Society. So that door had to have been shut. Murphy had to have been shut in that other door, unless returned earlier in the morning. After clearing the home, I briefly interviewed Jay, and Jay said he was at his apartment. So that must have been Jack. And his girlfriend, oh no, wait. I interviewed Jay. Jay said he was at his apartment, and Emily Arnott received a phone call. I'm going to have to try to figure out what this is. They lived at 1122 King Road. Said A was called by one of the residents who said they could not wake up a female on the floor. Jay said he came over to the home at approximately 11:55. Jay said he saw the female on the floor in the bedroom and did not see the male on the bed when identified as Ethan before grabbing a knife. Okay, that's got to be Hunter Johnson. They're calling him by his last name. Johnson said he entered the bedroom and checked the female's pulse and found none. Jay said he did not check Ethan and left the home. I thanked Jay for talking with me and told him that I could not stand with A, who was the other residents in front of the home. I could go stand with A. That had to been Arnott. So this officer is using last names only. I stood at the front door and started the crime scene log at 12:15. Sergeant Gunderson relieved me for approximately 3 minutes so I could get my gloves during my time at the front door. Approximately 3:02, which is civilian time, I was relieved by Officer Rosinski, who took possession of the crime scene log and returned to the station. At approximately 3:28, I came back to the scene and relieved Officer Smith, who was standing in the rear glass door, which was found open when officers arrived. I remained at the back door until I was relieved by Officer Nunez. Now, why was this back door open, guys? Why was it still open? Did Dylan and Bethany not see the back door open? Did they go out the front door? Just a thought. As I stood by approximately 15, I came back from the scene and I remained at the back door until I was relieved by Officer Nunez at 4:28. That is regular standard time. That's supplement 2. I'm going to go to 3. And this was by Mitch Nunez. This is a supplemental report. And this basically starts at 6:48 that night. Evidence narrative at approximately, let's see what he's got to say. Hold on. At approximately 11:56, I responded to 2 unconscious subjects. Upon my arrival, I found a large gathering of people in the parking lot. I immediately north of 1122, 3-story single, 3 bedrooms. Designation is located above the front door facing north, so that basically says 1122. I was directed to the bedroom on the second floor upon entering. This is basically his supplemental to the actual supplemental. I observed dry blood around Kaylee's body and signs of cutting trauma to her face. Kaylee was covered in so much blood I wasn't able to immediately discern where the additional injuries would have likely been. Kaylee was apparently deceased due to her pale skin color, rigid body tone, and apparent blood loss. On the bed in the same room, I observed Kaylee. Wait a minute. On the bed in the same room, I observed Kaylee. I observed a male lying supine on the bed. He's got to have the name wrong, guys. According to D, the male was likely Ethan Chapin. D said Ethan was commonly at the residence. I observed blood covering portions of Ethan's legs, surrounding his body onto the sheets, and drops of blood on the wall near Ethan's bed. I backed out of this room and drops of blood on the wall near Ethan's head. I backed out, showed me the kitchen knife, and she said that it is in his possession. I told H to leave the knife and go back down the stairs in front of the residence entrance. Officer Warner, I moved visually clear to the residence suspects and additional victims on the 3rd floor. This guy's got the names wrong. So on the 3rd floor, this is Nunez. How could he have their names wrong? Anyways, on the 3rd floor, Officer Warner and I found 2 additional apparently deceased females, both lying supine in bed. The bedroom was on the southwest corner of the 3rd floor. According to D, these 2 females were likely Xana and Madison. Why is D giving them wrong names? One female showed an apparent traumatic injury to her face, was basically basic facial structure being unrecognizable. Both females showed very pale skin. Both females were covered in dried blood and apparently deceased. After the residence was deemed safe, Officer Warner and I exited the residence to secure the immediate area, to include the parking lot immediately to the north of the residence. I walked outside and began interviewing, and D told me that approximately 400 hours she heard a voice scream and believed it to be Kaylee. D said she heard Kaylee scream and announce that somebody was inside the residence. D said she could hear Kaylee run from the 3rd floor downstairs the stairs to the bedroom and continued to hear commotion. D said eventually she stopped hearing a struggle and heard a male voice say, "You're going to be fine. I'm going to help you." D said she did not recognize the male's voice. D said after a few minutes, she peeked out of her bedroom and observed a male described as approximately 6 feet tall, slim build, with a black ski mask leave the 2nd floor patio area. How could she look out her window? Did she have a window in the back? The patio door was likely left open, and it was found open upon my arrival. I interviewed the additional roommate, B, who told me she was at the residence during the commotion. B said she was on the 2nd floor in the living room watching Vampire Diaries with D, and the unidentified person named D. L, and an identified person named L. B said at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, Madison and Kaylee came home from a night out at the Corner Club bar located in blank in Moscow, Idaho. B said she also believed Madison and Kaylee went to the grub truck, wandering kitchen truck, and commonly located at 300 block of South Main Street. B said that she and Madison left Madison's dog out, Murphy, sometime between 2 a.m. and 2:30. B said that during this time she observed no suspicious activity. B said she returned inside while Madison was still outside with Murphy. B said she went to bed about 2:30. B said Madison came into her bedroom sometime after 2:30 to see if she knew where Murphy was. B said she told Madison no, and Madison left. B said she woke up in her bedroom, which was located on the first floor, to the sound of what she described as a firecracker and a flash. B said she initially thought the sound was a prank. According to B phone log she showed me, B called Xana at 4:21 hours, Ethan at 4:22, Madison at 4:22 hours, Madison again at 4:30, and Kaylee at 4:31. B said she never received an answer on each call. B said she went back to sleep and woke up about 11:56 hours when 911 was called. Initially, I was told Kaylee was likely located on the second floor with Ethan. After comparing D's initial statement with other investigators, officers observed it appeared to actually be Xana, which was located on the floor of the bedroom, and Kaylee was in the other females located on the third floor room. I also observed the following vehicles in the gravel parking lot that was immediately to the 1122 building. The silver Range Rover, they blacked out license plate, a 210 Honda Civic with Arizona registered to blacked out, the Chevrolet Cruze blacked out, the Wrangler blacked out, and the Explorer blacked out. I was originally assigned to identify all of the people in the area. However, I was reassigned. So how could they even get everyone if they keep reassigning these duties to other policemen that can't get everyone in the area? I began to help search the warrant application process. I provided the above information to the search warrant application. At approximately 4:28, I returned to the King Road to assist with securing the patio entrance. I took responsibility from Officer Warner in documenting who entered and exited the residence. I provided this documentation with a notepad and maintained the log the entire time until I was relieved at 5:50. The following information is in the rear patio log, and it logs every single time that someone came in and came out. And that's important for accountability, especially officers that come into the crime scene. So there's nothing other in that supplemental 3 report. And this can just keep going on and on and on, which I'm going to run back to the chat real quick because I had to open up this other screen and kind of check the pulse of you guys. What are you all feeling after I'm reading some of this? These are the actual logs from Moscow Police Department investigation documents. This is around the whole entire Idaho 4 case. These are the police documents that they released publicly. You're pissed, chaos, angry, WTF. Okay, who were the damn small prints on the window and the screen? I want to know whose 13 size, 14 size foot was out there, and a firecracker and a flash gun, and they thought this was a joke. Don't be confused. That's why we are reading through the bullshit. If you saw the banners, we are uncovering the bullshit. Okay, don't be confused. Baby hands Beth, the frats. We are actually getting a better picture of what we didn't have before. Okay? It sounds like someone was telling people lies and trying to say that Kaylee was in the bed or on the floor in Xana's room. You're going to have more questions. Let me get to the other report. It didn't mention a sheath yet. You're correct. So let me just get back to the supplement. The next supplement is 4. It's redacted. These aren't in any particular order, so I'm just opening them as we go. This is from Ryan Snyder, okay? And he basically says on November 13th, 22, about 12 o'clock, I responded. This is another report of a policeman's in what he saw, a 4th report already, okay? They all have to write a report, and they all notice different things, so that's what we're going to have to do to put together. There are photos burned to a CD and booked into evidence. He took photos. Now, I don't know if the photos are here. We're going to see if there's any other files that contain this, but I don't think so. It's probably sealed. I responded to the King Road for a report of an unresponsive subject. Why do they keep saying that she was unresponsive? Because nobody went in there to look, and then Hunter looked and saw. Upon my arrival, I noticed there were several college-age subjects out in front of the address. I was directed to use police caution tape to cordon off the crime scene. As I was working around the residence, I noticed the back door was open and there were footprints in the snow coming from the back door to the back porch. Officer Smith took photos of these prints with a measuring tape, and he watched the backyard area to make sure no one else came in the area. I noticed there were a few footprints that left toward the west of the backyard, and this portion is connected to 2 other residences. 118 King Road and 1126 King Road, both directly to the west. The footprints appear to lead west toward King Road between the residents, but I wasn't able to see where the footprints went after the yards connected due to the amount of rock landscaping. I was also unable to discern how old these prints were. They had been recent snowfall. With Sergeant Gunderson, I entered the residence to continue taking photos of the scene. I entered through the bottom door, the bottom main floor door on the north side. I took photographs of the rooms and the living areas of the residence. These photos were downloaded into a CD, booked into evidence. The photos were labeled in this report with a brief description of each photo. As I was down the road near the address of King and Queen Road intersection, I was approached by a college male who identified himself as Jack. It's blacked out, but you can see it's Jack. He informed me that he lived at the King Road apartment. He stated his blank lived upstairs, obviously his girlfriend, at the King Road address 1122, and they shared a dog, obviously it's Jack by key points. And the dog was there currently. Jack did not appear to have obviously wounds on his hand, as I would assume the suspect probably would have. Officer Nunez was interviewing subjects about the situation. I asked Jack if he would wait inside Officer Nunez' police car so we could talk with him. He agreed to. I informed Sergeant Gunderson of the circumstance involving Jack. Jack later responded to the police department to be interviewed and then picked up the dog from the Moscow Humane Society shelter. I continued to canvass the area and speak with neighbors at blank, 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 and blank Queen Road who stated they did not hear or see anything relevant. I spoke with subjects at blank King Road. One resident, D.L., stated she was walking from the home from the corner club about 3 a.m. hours and thought she could hear music or some type of noise, but she couldn't get any clarifying information more than that due to her level of intoxication that night. So that person is D.L. or LD. Some policemen write last name first, first name last. I spoke with the subjects at Blank King Road. The majority of them stated they were out drinking at the corner club and got a ride back to their place at 1:30 hours and went to sleep about 2. They didn't hear anything out of the ordinary. Blank King Road resident B and P, BP is the initials, stated that about 4 o'clock hours he heard dog barking coming from the east of his residence. He believed it was the dog at 1122 King Road, and he thought that was the only dog in the area. He stated the dog sounded like it was outside and barking for about 45 minutes until he believed somebody must have let it inside at 4:45 until it stopped. Well, if everyone's asleep and 4 people are dead, who let the dog in? B stated that he had a female with him in bed at the time who also heard the dog barking at this 4 o'clock hour. I spoke with the residents at Blank King Road. B, that's a PC, informed me that they had a camera facing the west side of the address, and they believe captured a portion of the road. They first provided me with the SIM card out of the camera. However, they could not get it to work, and neither could I. They gave me the username and password to the camera. I informed Detective Mowery of the information and gave them permission to access the camera footage and record the necessary surveillance video. And then he does the photo log. So he took photos of the following I think are important. The retaining wall, the address front on the east side and west side, the parking lot, the Black Explorer, the parking lot 1122, northwest corner of 1122, 1122 parking lot west side, front address, front east, black vehicle, seat of blank WA. The Ford Explorer had Washington plates that had to been Hunter Chapin's black vehicle. The front seat of WA, the VIN number, a red Jeep, driver's Jeep, WA, that's Ethan's. Corner of the house, side yards, the Chevy Cruze, seat of blank ID, front. So they basically took pictures of all the cars, inside the cars. First floor bedroom, kitchen knife on beer pong table, all the victim, blood on floor, closets everywhere. I mean, this is a huge detail log. Sink table, shower, stove, counter, sliding glass door, around the kitchen window, kitchen sink, third floor bathroom, the bedroom door cast off. The door had to have been shut, guys. Floor from doorway, bed on two female victims. Above the bed, 2 female victims. The closet, the second floor bathroom, the third floor, everything. I'm just trying to pick out some key details. A Pontiac parked on Queen Road, a Subaru, a Chevrolet, cast off on the bedroom north wall. Holy crap. This is a lot of stuff. A medical mask outside on King Road. A medical mask. It wasn't a fucking ski mask. A medical mask. What the frick? We were told to be scared of people wearing ski masks. 1, 2, 3 medical masks. What the frick is this shit? Excuse my French. Holy moly. I gotta stop and check the pulse of this live, guys. How are you doing? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Maddie's BF wasn't there either. What the hell? 3, that's interesting. They were there for 6 to 8 years, for fuck's sake. No Hunter either. What the hell? Who had the night goggles? Was there a receipt? All right. Do you guys want me to go on and read more, or do you want to stop and pause? And I mean, what do you guys want? Because I'm giving you my input and looking at these documents and putting things together. Does that help you understand? because I think we can do this as a collective to understand what really helps, because you guys may have information that I don't have. I may have information that you've never had, and we can compare the two and figure out what the hell is going on. Okay, no, I've got plenty of time. I have time for you guys. This is important to me. Okay, so I just got to check on my hubby in a few minutes. Let me go on. So this is page supplemental 5 redacted. And there are a ton of documents, guys, tons. This isn't a bedtime story like people want, but this redacted supplement 5 is from Dollinger. Now remember, at the time, now he's the police chief, okay? Just keep this in mind. I haven't had time to read these. I'm reading them with you. So on November 13th, 2022, approximately at 12:53 hours, I arrive on scene at King Road. I spoke to Sergeant Gunderston and Sergeant Lawrence, who gave me a brief overview of the information gathered at that time. Sergeant Lawrence informed me the Idaho State Police were going to assist in the investigations. Bam, enter the ISP. And were organizing to respond to the scene. Sergeant Lawrence responded to the police department to begin interviews. I remained on scene on the perimeter, waiting for further information. So, at this moment, they're working with ISP, and they basically are handing and standing by and handing it over to them to figure out what to do next. Approximately 1 hour later, a male approached the scene and began speaking with Sergeant Gunderson. The male was identified as J.K. We all know who that is, right? I overheard Jay state his daughter lived in the 1122 King Road, and he had been trying to get in touch with her but was unsuccessful. It was also learned that Jay, if he and Jay could come over to the police department and speak with me. Jay agreed, and I returned to the police department. I contacted Sergeant Lawrence at the police department and asked if he had names of the victims. Sergeant Lawrence stated he did give me the list. I saw one of the victims' name was Xana Kernoodle, and then I met with Jay and Jay in the interview room off with the police department lobby. Once in the room, I activated the audio and video recording equipment. Ooh. I asked J and J for their information. They both handed me their Arizona driver's license. After writing down the information, I asked Jay what's the name of his other daughter. Jay told me her name was Xana. I informed J and J that Xana was identified as one of the victims. Okay, I hope you guys are following. Let me see what you guys got over here. Let me scroll back over. Give me 1 minute. Are you guys following with me? Type of 1. So how did they find out? I know you're being sarcastic. You're good. How did they find out? Were they called? There was no vandal alert out. Who called them? They were there within 12, so that had to have been less than an hour. They were very upset and were crying heavily. I asked J and J when was the last time they communicated with Xana was. Jay stated she texted Xana at approximately 5 o'clock the day before. Jay said the text messages were brief and not a lot of substance. Jay said he texted Xana at around 3:40 and she responded stating she was at work. Jay then told me he last spoke with Xana on the phone at approximately 9:40. They spoke about going to the WSU football game. I asked Jay where Xana worked, and he said the Mad Greek. I asked both Jay and Jay if Xana had mentioned anything about having any issues with anyone or anything strange occurring lately. Both Jay and Jay said Xana had not said anything. Jay said Xana had a boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, they'd been dating for about 6 months or so. Okay, so there's the answer that I was looking for the other day. Jay said everything seemed fine with their relationship, and Jay added how he had met Ethan's grandparents in the passing this weekend. Oh, Ethan's parents in passing this weekend. It should be noted Jay was in town visiting as he resides in Arizona, and it was Washington State University Parents Weekend. I asked Jay and Jay if there was anyone they wished me to contact for them, and they wished to speak with anyone of such of a member of a clergy, like a priest. They both told me no. I gave them my business card and informed them that our detectives would be contacting them in the near future. Jay and Jay then left the police department. And he attaches the video and basically signs off, I certify and declare under perjury of the law of the state of Idaho that the foregoing is true and correct. So that was a little interesting. They were there within an hour. So let's get a pulse. How are you guys doing? 6 is from Aaron Morris, which I don't know what detective that is, but I've seen this name in the past. 3 o'clock, she wasn't working and they got drunk and went to the game. Interesting. So she told her dad that she was working? Yeah, there's some conflicting statements. Xana wasn't feeling good. Texted. Yeah, they texted. Okay, so document 6, let's read this narrative. So there's a bunch of officers responding, and this is Aaron Morris. So Aaron Morris says, I arrive at King Road at 1 o'clock. I was advised by Captain Barrett to respond to the work due to a homicide investigation. I was told to remain available for all calls for service. Around 4:30 hours, I relieved Officer Rosinski on the north side of 1122 King Road. I was stationed for scene security and helped keep a log of who entered and exited the crime scene. Officer Smith entered at 5 o'clock and exited at 5:25. ISP Tablet, this is the Idaho State Police, entered at 5 and left at 5:40 hours. Corporal Payne entered at 5 and exited at 5:23. PA Jennings entered at 17:03 and exited at 17:03 is 5:03 and exited at 5:23. ISP Jake entered at 7. I'll say civilian time at 5:25 and left at 5:38. Gideon, Officer ISP, entered at 5:25 and exited at 5:39. And Sergeant Blaker entered at 5:28 and exited at 5:40. Payne entered at 17:28 and exited at 5:28, 5:38. So the last person that was in the house was Corporal Payne, and he was in there for about 10 minutes. Officer Stirk relieved me from the north side of the residence, and I went to the south side to relieve Officer Nunez about 6 o'clock. I stood at the rear of the residence for safety and scene security. I assisted Bleecker in putting up evidence tape on the sliding glass door on the south side. The tape was to ensure no persons tried to access the scene overnight. I returned to the north side, and for the remainder of the night, the investigators from ISP made their final walkthrough of the residence, and it was secured at midnight. Rosendahl relieved me as I cleared. Officer Rosendahl relieved him for the night. Wow. So he was the last one on scene. Let's see. How are you guys doing? Should we stop there or should we keep going? Who found the sheath? We don't know yet. Just heard a rumor. Bethany heard all of this. Yeah. Did he erase them off his phone? Good question. Holy shit, Rosie was the possible stalker. Wonders deep if they've added additional charge if was pregnant. All right. Supplemental 7 has loaded. And let's see what this tells us. I feel like I'm reading this all out of sync, but there's no particular order. Supplemental report from Lawrence, and this is quite a few pages. So let me do this. About 1 o'clock on the 13th, Captain Barrett informed me that there had been multiple victims of homicide located at the residence at King Road. And I think I'm going to stay live until I jump on with Birdie in a few minutes. So let me message him and see if he wants me to jump up there tonight. Because tonight is supposed to be, is tonight Wednesday night? Let me ask him. Is it supposed to be Sammy T, but she doesn't have any internet. Link for live. Let me ask him. All right, so I'll wait to hear back from him. So let's keep going. I called Detective Vargas and was informed she was out of town and would be back in Moscow on Monday. I called Detective Mowry and he informed me he would be on his way shortly. I called ISP Mike Looney and told him I'd need assistance. So obviously he's getting everybody in place. I responded to the scene where I met with Sergeant Gunderson, and he informed me that the officers were dispatched to an unconscious person at 1122 King Road, and that is when I found the 4 deceased college-age people in the residence. I told him I needed somebody from his team to return to the police department and start writing an affidavit for a search warrant. Sergeant Gunderson asked Officer Nunez to handle that task. I then did verify, briefly, walk through the residence. I entered the residence from the entrance on the north side of the building. Officer Warner, who was securing the scene, logged my entrance into the residence. I then went up to the stairs located and found a deceased female on the floor and a male in the bed, west bedroom on the second floor. I climbed the stairs to the third floor and located 2 deceased females on the southeast bedroom. They were both in bed. I spoke with Officer Smith as I was securing the residence at the south entrance for a moment. Then I exited the residence through the north entrance. Officer Warner noted my departure. Okay, nothing was found by this guy, obviously. I called Sergeant Gilbertson and informed him of additional information provided to me that I had seen. I told him MPD would be needing their assistance. I told Sergeant Gilbertson MPD had an officer writing an affidavit for a search warrant. I returned to the police department where I met with Sergeant Blaker and Corporal Payne, who I called them earlier and requested they respond to the PD. At this time, Detective Murray was at the police department. I requested they interview the other occupants of the residence where the deceased lived and were located. There were also several friends of the deceased that had been there the night before and may have information on their whereabouts and who they were with prior to the murders. Those interviews started at about 1:48. Those to be interviewed arrived at the PD at about 1:30. I put them in the training room and provided them with drinks and snacks. Captain Lanier arrived and asked me how I could help. I requested he find officers that were not already tasked and complete a canvass of the neighborhood and took care of the neighboring canvassing. About 2:23 hours, J.K., it's got to be Cornoodle, and the blank Xana arrived at the PD. I think it's the father of Xana. He was informed of Xana's death by Captain Dollinger. Captain Barrett informed me Ethan Chapin's family had been notified of Ethan's death, and Captain Barrett asked me to take care of the death certificates for Maddie Mogan, or take care of the death notifications for Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez. Captain Barrett provided me with the information the university had on file for Mogan and Gonzalez. There were no emergency contacts for either, so I called Kootenai County Dispatch due to Mogan and Gonzalez's home address being in Kootenai County. I provided M, the KCSO dispatcher, of the address listed in the university for M and K. M told me that she had the names of S and C and G listed as residents of the address provided for KG. I requested death notification for them. I was contacted by Deputy Mitch from KCSO. He asked if he could tell the parents, and I informed them we knew very little at this time. A short time later, Deputy Jan called me and told me that when he arrived to give the notification, the parents were already aware. Okay, guys. So Steve G has claimed that somebody came to their door, but this is said when he arrived to give the notifications to the parents, they already knew. What the frick is going on? What is going on? How did they already know? Who was there? Because the niece had told Christy. Oh, that's right. See? Okay, good. I remember they were watching the football game and someone said that they were SHOT. Okay, got it. All right. I also provided Maddie Mogan's address to M and was not able to locate anyone with the name of Mogan at that address. M said that she would send Coeur d'Alene PD officer to the residence to make contact. A short time later, Officer Matt Sykes requested I call him. I made the contact with Officer Sykes. He told me S and K, L, and Madison Mogan were driving to Moscow. Approximately 20 minutes after my conversation with OFC Officer Sykes, the blank arrived at the PD, the L. I don't know who L is, the L. Barrett gave the death notification. Captain Barrett requested I interview with him. I spoke with S and K, that's Steve and Christy, in the lobby room. They told me they had a great relationship with Madison. She got along with everyone. She had a strong relationship with her boyfriend, Jack, who lives in Boise, and she had just gone to Boise to see him the weekend prior. Madison and Jay had been dating for about a year and a half, and Jay is from blank. I asked him if there were any problems with past boyfriends, and there were none to their knowledge. I asked Madison had mentioned any stalking behavior from anyone or made her feel uncomfortable, and he said they never spoke of anything. The rest of my shift was spent allocating resources where needed. All right, that was 7. Let me see if 8 gives us any new details. How y'all doing? I know you guys, I'm probably going to end. Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll know who's on Snapchat, who was doing what. Some crazy shit, that's for sure. Okay, let's see. I haven't heard back from Birdie. I don't know if, okay. So what I'm going to do right now, since it's so close to Birdie's live, I'm going to stop this. I will be back to finish up these statements. I'm not sure if I'm going to go over there, but if I don't go live with him, I will come back and read statements. I know he's going to have more of a reaction of what happened in the sentencing. And I know this shit's weird, but I'm taking notes as I go along. And I think, Phoenix, I posted a link on the video to where SG is talking about BK working for the cops. Yeah, I know. I know, guys. There's going to be a lot that comes out. You're going to be shocked. You know, you're going to be shocked. That's all I'm going to say. You will be shocked, but we got to get through this. We got to understand for our own safety and our own mental wellness. You know, a lot of people have invested time in this, and I think we kind of know the outcome. And if BK was indeed working for the cops, like I said a long time ago, it started at WSU. So I know it could be frustrating, but hang in tight, have faith. And I'm going to take a break real quick. I'm going to see if Birdie's going live. And I will be back and we'll go through these documents together if you want, because I think it's important as we go through them, we can reflect on what we know as a hive, as a group in the nest, and kind of get an idea of what really happened that night. So all of you, if you're not busy or you're just going to listen in to Birdie, go over and let's join Birdie. Love you guys. As always, Phoenix out. Be well.
Phoenix, Phoenix, what do you see? Unlocking knowledge for you and me. The nest is rising strong and true. Sharing wisdom, me and you.
And for those of you still in this nest, I just want to let you know that black piece of paper that BK was staring at with the heart, a lot of people that have autism need something to focus on, and that's exactly what he was doing, just so you guys know. It's a coping mechanism. It's part of something to keep him focused. The heart is basically love, acceptance, and he was trying to focus. So just so you guys know that, and be well.
Fight for the truth we seek. Every answer, week by week.
Yo, microphone check 1 2. This ain't no ordinary stream. From the ashes, Phoenix talks manifest in the dream.